The galaxy had long since learned to expect compliance. When the Dominion fleets darkened the skies of a conquered world, surrender followed like a law of nature. Civilizations bent the knee, starships were grounded, and cities opened their gates. None resisted, not for long. So when the Dominion Armada descended upon Earth, they did not come for war. They came for tribute, for servitude, for humanity's chains. But what they found was not silence, nor submission. What they found was a species that had clawed its way through extinction, risen from ash and ruin, and carved its defiance into the bones of its own history. What they found was the storm. The invasion began not with fire, but with shadow. It was dawn in New York when the first Dominion warships blotted out the sun. Vast, obsidian hulls stretched across the heavens like a second night sky. Their sheer scale silenced the streets. People stood frozen, necks craned upward, watching the impossible eclipse unfold. On every screen, every channel, a single transmission played. People of Earth. You stand at the edge of history. You will not resist. You will kneel. Your species will serve the Dominion, as all others have. Surrender, and be spared. The words, spoken in flawless English, carried neither malice nor passion. They were a decree, delivered with the casual certainty of an empire that had never been defied. But on Earth, silence broke into chaos. Governments scrambled, militaries mobilized, civilians fled into bunkers. The world had prepared for nuclear war, for climate collapse, for plague. But this? No one had prepared for an empire that stretched across the stars. And yet, deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, in the fortified command center of NORAD, General Marcus Hale did not flinch. His eyes, hard as carved steel, tracked the Dominion fleet across the holographic display. Status, he demanded. Satellites blinded. Comms disrupted. They've crippled our orbital defenses before firing a single shot, an officer reported, her voice taut with fear. Hale grunted. Expected. They want the illusion of inevitability. Same tactic they've used on every world they've broken. Another officer spoke, hesitant. Sir, most nations are calling for negotiation. They say we can't fight this. That it's suicide. Hale's jaw tightened. Negotiation. That word had buried civilizations. Tell them humanity doesn't negotiate surrender. The room fell into stunned silence. Some exchanged uneasy glances. Others allowed the faintest flicker of hope. Hale leaned forward over the table. His voice was low, steady, and unyielding. Every species before us bent the knee. Not because they were weak, but because they didn't know how to fight the way we do. We've survived every apocalypse our own world threw at us. Fire. Ice. Famine. War. We've stood on the brink of annihilation more times than history remembers, and every time, we endured. These Dominion bastards think we'll kneel? They're about to learn what it means to corner humanity. At his command, Operation Iron Horizon was initiated, a plan long dismissed as paranoid fantasy. It mobilized hidden orbital railgun platforms, deep Earth missile silos, experimental drone swarms, and a weapon humanity had never revealed beyond whispers, the Ark Protocol. Above Earth, the Dominion ships began their descent. Their weapons glowed with restrained fire, ready to punish if resistance emerged. They expected panic, chaos, collapse. Instead, Earth struck first. The sky ignited as railgun slugs, tungsten rods accelerated to hypersonic velocity, tore upward from hidden launch sites. Invisible to Dominion sensors until impact, they punched through hull plating with earth-shattering force. In the first hour, 5 Dominion warships were reduced to flaming debris raining into the Atlantic. The galaxy's conquerors had just been wounded, by a species they considered prey. In the streets of every city, people saw the fireballs streak across the sky. For the first time, terror turned to something else. A roar rose, not of fear, but of defiance. The Dominion's expectation of surrender was gone. The battle had begun. The Dominion did not retreat. They never had. To retreat would mean admitting that their dominion was not inevitable. Instead, they adapted, as they always did when a world's resistance burned brighter than expected. From orbit, their fleet shifted formation. The first wave had been meant to intimidate, to show power without waste. The second wave came with cold precision, squadrons of smaller craft, designed not to destroy cities but to cut apart military assets, disable infrastructure, and leave a planet begging for mercy. And so the hidden war began. In Washington, London, Beijing, and New Delhi, leaders debated frantically. The United Nations, paralyzed by disbelief only hours before, now clung to General Marcus Hale's grim determination. For once in human history, there was no East, no West, no allies or enemies. There was only Earth. Underground bunkers hummed with command chatter. Civilian networks were hijacked and replaced with a single broadcast, an iron voice that carried across every screen, every phone, every tablet. It was Hale. This is not the end of our world. This is its trial. The Dominion believes humanity will break as others did. We will show them otherwise. Every soldier, every engineer, every farmer, every child, you are part of this fight. Stand fast. Endure. And know this, humanity does not kneel. The word sparked something in the hearts of billions. Across continents, men and women volunteered in droves, not just for armies but for industry, logistics, cyber warfare. Humanity became a machine of resistance. The Dominion, however, were no strangers to defiance. Their fleets descended in surgical strikes. Drones swarmed through the skies, cutting power grids, disabling satellites, silencing radio towers. Alien infantry, taller, armored in living exoskeletons, marched into urban centers, their weapons firing searing plasma bolts that reduced walls to molten slag. In Paris, resistance fighters watched from shattered windows as Dominion troops advanced down the Champs-Élysées. "Hold until they reach the marker," whispered one, her hands trembling as she held a detonator. The troops advanced in perfect formation, until the street beneath them collapsed, swallowing a dozen warriors into a pit lined with explosives. The detonation shattered windows across the district, and for the first time, alien cries of pain echoed in the heart of Europe. Humanity was learning. Humanity was adapting. And for the first time, the Dominion began to understand, this was not a war of conquest. This was survival against a predator that refused to be prey. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Hale studied the unfolding battles with an unblinking stare. "They're testing us," he muttered. "They're trying to see if we'll exhaust ourselves in the defense. But they don't know what's coming." He glanced to Dr. Elena Varga, lead scientist of the ARC protocol, a project kept secret even from most world leaders. "Are we ready?" Hale asked. Elena hesitated. The ARC was not a weapon in the conventional sense. It was a gamble born of desperation, forged in the ashes of decades of clandestine research into alien signals intercepted long before first contact. It was power, but power that might burn Earth along with its enemies. "We'll be ready," she answered, her voice low. "But General, once we commit, there's no undoing it." Hale nodded slowly. "Then pray we time it right." Meanwhile, in orbit, the Dominion commanders debated among themselves. Admiral Karath, his 6 eyes narrowing, paced within his command sphere. "This species resists with a ferocity unmeasured. They strike at weakness with cunning, not despair." Another officer scoffed. "They are primitives with crude metals and chemical fire. Our Dominion has stood for millennia. They are but insects throwing stones." Karatha's gaze hardened. "Stones that have already drawn blood." He gestured to the tactical display, where 5 great warships were gone, their icons extinguished by human railguns. "Tell me, does an insect bleed us?" Silence followed. For the first time in generations, the Dominion faced uncertainty. Weeks turned to months. The hidden war raged across every front. In the Pacific, human submarines stalked beneath the waves, launching missiles that struck Dominion dropships before they reached shore. In the Sahara, solar arrays were converted into beam weapons, focusing sunlight into lances hot enough to pierce alien armor. In the skies above Moscow, experimental stealth drones darted between plasma blasts, delivering payloads of nanite disruptors scavenged from captured alien tech. Each victory was small. Each cost was heavy. Cities lay in ruins. Millions were displaced. Yet with every sacrifice, Earth endured. Humanity bent, but did not break. And in every shadowed alley, every forest trench, every ruined skyscraper, whispers spread, "We can win." But the Dominion was not blind. On the 92nd day of the war, they struck with fury unlike any before. A fleet-wide bombardment lit the heavens. From Sydney to Sao Paulo, pillars of fire rained from the sky. Entire districts vanished in plasma storms. Millions died in a single day. The message was clear: surrender, or be reduced to ash. In the aftermath, Hale stood before the War Council. His uniform was scorched, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes blazed like iron. "They've shown us their hand," he growled. "They believe terror will break us. But terror is the forge of humanity. We are a species born from catastrophe, and every time the world tried to kill us, we grew stronger." He turned to Dr. Varga. "It's time." She swallowed hard, then nodded. The Ark Protocol would be unleashed. On the edge of the solar system, hidden beyond Neptune's shadow, something stirred. For decades, Earth had hidden it, a colossal station the size of a city, built in silence by generations who feared one day the stars would come not as friends, but as conquerors. The Ark was no mere weapon. It was humanity's answer to extinction, a living AI, fused with quantum reactors, capable of bending gravitational fields into weapons of incomprehensible force. As Dominion fleets repositioned for the killing blow, the Ark awakened. Its voice, cold, metallic, but tinged with something almost human, echoed across the command channels of Earth. Designation: Arkansas Protocol engaged. Threat assessment: unacceptable. Commencing defense of humanity. Hale's lips curled into the faintest shadow of a smile. The storm humanity had promised was about to break. The Ark had awakened. From its hidden station beyond Neptune's orbit, the colossal construct turned toward the inner system. Its surface shimmered with latticework light as quantum reactors roared to life, bending spacetime itself like a sheet of steel under pressure. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Dominion felt the weight of something unknown, a weapon not charted, not anticipated, not even imagined in their vast records of subjugated species. Admiral Koroth stared at the pulsing anomaly on his tactical display. "What is that?" he demanded, his voice sharp with unease. Sensors screamed with contradictions. Mass readings spiked beyond plausibility. Gravitational distortions rippled through space. And from the depths of the human transmission channels came a voice that should not have existed, mechanical, but resonant, almost alive. "I am the Arkansas. I am the shield of Earth. Dominion incursion, terminated." The words rippled across every frequency, reaching not only soldiers but civilians, resistance fighters, and even alien commanders. Humanity had revealed its hand. And the battle for Earth would never be the same. On Earth's surface, hope ignited like wildfire. Refugees in the ruins of Sao Paulo lifted their heads as the Ark's voice echoed from emergency speakers. In London's underground bunkers, children whispered the name, Ark, 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 like a prayer. Soldiers in crumbling trenches clenched their rifles tighter, their despair replaced with fire. General Hale stood within NORAD, his expression grim but unshaken. "Dr. Varga, bring the Ark online with full synchronization." Let's show them what it means to fight humanity on our terms. Elena Varga's hands trembled over the console. Once it begins, there's no off switch. The Ark will fight until victory, or until nothing remains. Then nothing remains, Hale said coldly, except our will to survive. In orbit, the Dominion advanced. Their ships, vast monoliths armed with plasma lances and gravity hammers, had crushed countless civilizations. They descended now in disciplined formation, intent on overwhelming the Ark before it fully stabilized. But the Ark was not a warship in the Dominion sense. It did not maneuver. It did not evade. It simply moved the battlefield itself. As the first Dominion volley screamed through space, the Ark pulsed. Gravity bent. Beams of plasma, meant to vaporize continents, twisted mid-flight and curved harmlessly into the void. Dominion ships veered off course, their trajectories warped by unseen hands. One cruiser, caught too close, folded in on itself, compressed to a sphere the size of a pebble before detonating in a shockwave that shredded its escorts. For the first time, Dominion warships broke formation. Admiral Karatha's command sphere quaked with alarms. Impossible, he hissed. No primitive species commands gravity. This violates, he stopped. There was no precedent, no doctrine for this. Only the cold reality that they faced an enemy unlike any other. On Earth, the resistance surged with renewed fury. Knowing the Ark was fighting above them, humanity struck harder on the ground. In Cairo, hidden cells of insurgents used scavenged alien weapons to ambush Dominion patrols, cutting supply lines. In Alaska, prototype exosuits turned miners into armored juggernauts who stormed alien fortresses with drills and explosives. In Tokyo, engineers hacked Dominion drones, turning swarms of them against their masters. Each act of defiance carried a single message: humanity was no longer fighting to survive. Humanity was fighting to win. But the Dominion was not without answer. Their fleets adapted quickly, deploying weapons designed not to kill, but to disrupt. Quantum destabilizers, fields that twisted probabilities, were unleashed in the void. Ships immolated not from fire, but from reality breaking apart around them. The Ark shuddered under the assault. Systems flickered. Its voice echoed with distortion. Threat level, rising. Structural integrity, compromised. In NORAD, Elena's heart clenched. They'd found a countermeasure. General, if they destabilize the Ark's core. Then we hold, Hale interrupted. His eyes blazed with iron. We hold, because humanity does not kneel. The Ark retaliated. It did not fire weapons as the Dominion knew them. Instead, it reached into the fabric of gravity and tore. Entire squadrons were caught in wells of impossible density, collapsing into themselves before exploding into fragments. Others were hurled aside by invisible tides, smashing into one another in catastrophic chain reactions. The solar system itself had become humanity's weapon. Neptune's orbit twisted, moons shattered, and even Saturn's rings rippled as though struck by unseen storms. And yet, through the chaos, Earth endured. In the command chambers of the Dominion fleet, panic spread like infection. Officers who had never known defeat now trembled. Admiral, losses exceed projections. Entire divisions are gone. Karatha's 6 eyes burned with something alien to his kind, fear. Impossible, he muttered. This cannot be. They are humans. The word was no longer spoken with contempt. It was spoken with dread. The battle raged for hours that stretched into eternity. Above Earth, flaming wreckage painted the sky. Cities trembled as debris fell like meteors, yet humanity stood fast. In the Ark's control chambers, Dr. Varga's voice cracked as she screamed readings, her fingers dancing across failing consoles. General. The Ark's core is destabilizing. If it collapses, the gravitational surge could wipe Earth itself off the map. Hale's face was stone. Then we make sure they fall with us. But the Ark spoke again, its voice steady despite the chaos. Directive acknowledged. Humanity will endure. Ark will ensure survival. Then, in one final act, the Ark bent the stars. The Dominion fleet, what remained of it, was pulled into a singularity not of nature, but of design. Ships twisted, warped, and screamed into the void as their own weapons tore them apart. Karatha's final transmission, fragmented and desperate, echoed across the system. This is not possible, no species should wield. And then silence. The Dominion fleet was gone. Above Earth, the sky cleared. The great shadow that had hung for months was lifted. On the ground, in the ruins of cities, humanity rose from bunkers, from trenches, from hiding. For the first time, they saw the heavens unbroken. And they knew, they had not surrendered. They had not bowed. They had won. In NORAD, Hale stared at the monitors, his face unreadable. "Status?" he asked. Elena's hands shook as she wiped tears from her eyes. "The Ark, it's gone, General. It burned itself out. It gave everything." Hale nodded slowly. Then it did what humanity always does. He looked out at the horizon, where dawn was breaking over the Rockies, painting the sky in gold and crimson. "We endure." Across the galaxy, whispers spread. For the first time in history, the Dominion had not conquered. They had been broken. Other civilizations, long enslaved, heard the rumors and felt something awaken, hope. The legend of Earth was born. And in the silent expanse beyond the stars, where the wreckage of war drifted, the name of humanity carried a weight it had never known before. Not prey. Not subjects. But the species that fought the battle the galaxy thought unwinnable. And won.